Every time James Cameron makes a movie, it is often the most expensive and most ambitious production to date. And if the current filmmaking technology doesn't match his vision, he creates his own technology. When he made AVTAR, it was a quantum leap forward in performance capture photography. And now, with AVTAR 2, he's done it once again. This is how they shot it. Subscribe and click the bell to join the Studio Binder family. In this series, we've covered movies like Titanic, Top Gun Maverick, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. Let us know which film we should tackle next. Now, off to Pandora we go.
Let's dance.
We'll be using Studio Binder's shot list feature to fully populate our shot specs. James Cameron had been dreaming of AVTAR for decades. He wrote the original treatment before making Titanic, but the technology of the time could not match his vision.
I was on a quest for the Holy Grail, and the Holy Grail was to be able to reproduce full human emotion in a CG character.
So he waited, and over the next few years, he oversaw the development of the tech and processes required. In 2007, they finally cracked the code. For Cameron's sci-fi epic, 3 different camera systems were used for 3 different shooting scenarios: CG performance capture, live action, and a hybrid of the two. The first was a virtual system used for motion capture scenes. Basic motion capture technology works like this. Actors wear suits with markers that reflect infrared light back to stationary cameras. This provides data points that animators can use to create a digital character. For AVTAR, this was done on a mocap stage called the volume. While HD reference cameras provided animators with detailed coverage to complete the physical performance, a reported 120 stationary cameras captured the actors' positions and movements. All of this was standard procedure for motion capture. But Cameron added 2 key innovations that pushed this process to the next level. First, each actor wore a small camera rigged to the helmet, whose sole purpose was to capture the facial performances. This is why Cameron prefers the term performance capture and not simply motion capture. Previous films tried to animate faces without these cameras, but for Cameron, the results were unsatisfactory. The helmet cam gave the animators the solid foundation they needed to render the emotional spectrum he wanted.
I trusted you!
Trust me now, please.
Second, a virtual camera could render the actors as their eventual CG characters and their environments in real time. They dubbed this the swing camera for its ability to shoot in any direction, as Cameron explains. The virtual camera allows me to direct computer-generated scenes as I would live-action scenes. I can see my actors performing as their characters in real time, and I can move my camera to adjust to their performances. But actors weren't the only elements recorded in the volume. Models of the vehicles with the same infrared markers attached could be manually flown to map out the aerial choreography. The volume also played a key role in the production design. While the sets were being built for the upcoming live-action part of the production, Cameron could use the virtual camera to rehearse the scenes in a virtual set. In this process, changes discovered on the virtual set could be applied to the actual set they would shoot on later. The final task, using the virtual camera, was done months after the initial performance capture. With the actors' work done, Cameron worked alone in the volume to choose the final shots of those performances, including the close-ups that showcased the human emotions in CG characters he was after from the beginning. These shots eventually went to Weta Digital for the final renders. Once the performance capture was complete, the crew packed up and headed to New Zealand to shoot all the live-action footage with the Fusion 3D camera. The Fusion camera rig had two Sony f950 cameras to shoot native 3D. One was mounted horizontally and the other was mounted vertically, shooting through a beam splitter. This meant that one camera shot left eye footage and the other shot footage for the right eye. Previous 3D cameras were locked in a rig, but the Fusion rig can articulate each camera to mimic how the human eye adjusts to perceive depth and focus. This creates a more natural 3D effect that matches our own vision. The Fusion camera was also used for shots that combined both CGI and live-action elements. This was called the simulcam system. Reflective markers were placed on the Fusion camera rig so that it could be registered by the motion capture system. Through the camera monitor, live-action elements could be composed and timed with previously captured CG performances. Today, we know this as augmented reality. What the simulcam provides is more control and flexibility when compositing live action with CGI. The more traditional process shoots actors against a green screen first. Then the animators are forced to match their work to the actor, which often creates compromises. The simulcam system reduces those potential compromises by giving the actors and filmmakers more accurate reference points. They could adjust the framing or match the timing of both live action and CG performances. The end product, then, is a more seamlessly integrated shot. Avatar went on to become the highest-grossing movie of all time. Apparently, all the hard work really paid off.
Look at all that cheddar.
But when it came time to head back to Pandora for the sequel, these revolutionary techniques evolved even further. Avatar saw a leap forward in technology and filmmaking. And 13 years later, Cameron and his team did it again for the sequel. Following the first film, the sequel would be shot in 3D. But what about shooting 3D underwater? The camera options at the time were large and difficult to operate. They were also subject to distortions and artifacts because they had to shoot through ports on the housing. But then Cameron discovered DP and inventor Powell Ortel, who had developed a next-gen 3D underwater camera never before used in a feature film. The DeepX 3D is similar to Cameron's Fusion 3D system, using two cameras and a beam splitter. For lenses, Ortel used Nikonos submersible lenses, meaning they can work outside the housing for supreme clarity. Besides the 3D camera, the entire performance capture process was also made to work underwater, which naturally gave rise to a brand new set of challenges. For one, the performance capture stage was now set up inside a tank with 900,000 gallons of water. But the scale and demands placed on the actors for Avatar 2 were unprecedented. They could have shot these scenes dry for wet, which they did for the original Avatar. This involves suspending the actors from wires and having them swim through the air. But Cameron, being Cameron, it was the authenticity of being underwater that would yield the most accurate references for the animators. One problem they encountered involved how light interacted with water. These reflections created false markers that disrupted the performance capture cameras. To counteract this, they covered the water's surface with white plastic balls to eliminate the reflections, but still let light through. Perhaps the biggest challenge for the actors was holding their breath. As Cameron explains, using scuba gear simply could not work. Scuba bubbles would create too much noise in our performance capture system, so no matter how long the scene took, if it took 2, 3, 4 minutes to shoot, everybody was holding their breath. The cast trained with professional divers to be able to act underwater for minutes at a time. Sigourney Weaver was able to work underwater for over 6 minutes. And Kate Winslet broke Tom Cruise's record for the longest breath hold for a film with a staggering 7 minutes and 14 seconds. With these two films, Cameron and his team created something out of this world. Who knows what they'll come up with for Avatar 3? All of this effort to make these films is solely driven by Cameron's quest to infuse CG characters with human emotions. The biggest complaint about CGI is that no matter how real it looks, it still feels unnatural. As long as filmmakers like Cameron push what's possible with these technologies, that bridge between natural and unnatural gets shorter and shorter. Whether your next project is set on Pandora or this planet, you need to be prepared. Write, schedule, and shot list like a pro with Studio Binder. Until next time, no need to hold your breath until our next video. We'll see you next week.
I see you.
I see you.